So this is chapter 12, demonstrating skills in the arts of the Sutra Play in Full. So in the Sutra Play in Full, Arjuna is speaking to Lord Buddha, referencing Lord Buddha as a child here. So then Arjuna asked, "Child, how would you enumerate the number application to the smallest particles?" The Bodhisattva answered. So the Bodhisattva is Lord Buddha. Before he attained his Buddhahood, before he became a Buddha, he was a Bodhisattva. So in the Play in Full, in this chapter, he is still a Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva answered, 7 of the smallest particles is 1 small particle. 7 small particle is 1 water particle. 7 water particle is 1 airborne dust particle. 7 airborne dust particle is 1 dust particle on a hair. 7 dust particles on a hair is 1 dust particle on a sheep, and it keeps going. So Buddha, as a bodhisattva, even before he achieved his enlightenment, already had this level of knowledge because he was from heaven, and he already had like this kind of knowledge, that he had already acquired this kind of knowledge through his many learnings and through his many past lives. So in this one, I wanted to quickly touch on how like the scientists, they are making rain from dust, or they're making artificial rain or cloud seeding. So over here, Buddha has already stated, Buddha has already revealed 7 water particle is 1 airborne dust particle. So 1 tiny dust particle is 7 water drops, or 7 water particles. So science is actually not in the forefront. Science is actually borrowing from everything from spirituality, but they never give credit to spirituality or the spiritual nature of everything. They clinicalize everything, whitewash everything, and they just separate religion and science, or spirituality and science. They completely separate it and turn it into like 2 different entities. Like science is totally alien to spirituality, spirituality is totally alien to science. That's how they present it. But it's not true, because Lord Buddha here is doing math. Lord Buddha here is doing science and math and everything. So this is all part of a universal system. And don't think math, science, technology is separate from spirituality. It's all one and the same thing. And if you read the Play in Full, you'll get a really good idea of how Buddha knew mathematics, Buddha knew science. Buddha knew mathematics more than the fallen angels. Buddha knows mathematics of the entire universe. And the fallen angels only know mathematics of what they see in like the earth and the heaven, the seen universe, what they are accustomed to. The fallen angels don't have view of the other worlds that Buddha has view of. So what they are telling you is very minute, is very basic compared to all of this knowledge that the Buddha has given. So in this video, you will see this scientist talking about how they are making artificial rain with dust, but they themselves will not give you direct revelation of like they're using dust, but they will just indicate, and they will give you indirect information in terms of what they are doing, and they will never directly speak of what they are doing, but you will hear this scientist talk about how they have used dust particles to make rain.
I mean, lasers, really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
So over here, Buddha is demonstrating, Buddha is speaking about mathematics, for example. If one uses Talaksana as a basic unit of calculation, it is feasible to calculate the size of Mount Meru, the king of mountains. Beyond that is the number called Davaja Gravati. If one uses Davaja Gravati as the basic unit of calculation, it is possible to solve the calculation for all the grains of the sands of the river of the Ganges. So like this type of mathematics that Buddha is demonstrating and speaking of. But most importantly, I wanted to show you this. Finally comes the number called application to the smallest particles. Paramanu Raja Pravesanu Katha. So that's like, Paramanu is like the atom. So Paramanu is like the smallest particle, is the atom. So that translates to atom. With the exception of the thus gone one, a bodhisattva who dwells at the sublime seat of awakening, or a bodhisattva who is about to be initiated into all dharmas. There is no other being who understands this number, with the exception of me and perhaps one like me, namely a bodhisattva in his final existence who has departed from the household. So when we are able to perceive the atom, when we are able to perceive the smallest particle, which I myself, I have given testimony of that. So if you are able to perceive that smallest particle, then you are at your sublime seat of awakening and you are about to understand, or a bodhisattva who is about to be initiated into all dharmas. So I want to explain what this means, and this is very important for everyone to understand because I am sharing my realization and I'm sharing what I have learned in terms of what is called the application of the smallest particle and how I have applied the smallest particle or the atom or the paramanu, how I have realized the smallest particle, how I have applied it, and how I have explained it and how I have given my testimony in terms of the smallest particle, which is the atom Paramanu. I want you to understand what that means. In the future, during your tribulation, it might be applicable for you as well. Finally comes the number called the application of the smallest particle, which is the atom. Paramanu Raja Pravesanu Gatha. With the exception of the thus gone one, a bodhisattva who dwells at the sublime seat of awakening, or a bodhisattva who is about to be initiated into all dharmas, there is no other being who understands this number with the exception of me and perhaps one like me, namely a bodhisattva in his final existence who has departed from the household. So departed from the household means that has given up the household life, which is like getting married, having children, or given up this worldly life, like the typical 9 to 5 family kids kind of household life. So who has departed from the household life. Only a person that is a bodhisattva who dwells in the sublime seat of awakening and who is about to be initiated into all dharmas are able to perceive and correctly apply the smallest particle, the atom Paramanu. So only that person can do it. So if you're perceiving the atom, if you're perceiving the smallest particle, if you're perceiving the Paramanu, then you are at your sublime seat of awakening about to be initiated into all the dharmas. Because the Buddha here has said, no other being who understands this number. There is no other being who understands this number, with the exception of me and perhaps one like me, namely a bodhisattva in his final existence who has departed from the household. So you have to be in this category of a bodhisattva in its seat of awakening. You have to be in that category to perceive the smallest particle or the application of the smallest particle, how it is applied and what it means to you directly, and how you have applied it, because I have shared my testimony on the atom. You can go watch my atom video. So you can go watch this video, Single Atom of Hinayana, the King Model. And the single atom of Hinayana, the King Model of Buddhism, the monotheistic God Yahweh, explaining the one God. So that's how I have applied the atom. So I have taken the atom and applied it to our Father in heaven, the monotheistic God Yahweh. So Yeshua, Son of God, Jesus Christ's Father. So I have applied the atom to him to explain the one God. So you can go watch this video in terms of how I have used the atom and where I have applied it. So we have 0-point energy here. The 0-point energy is also well known and studied and part of the New Age community. They call it the New Age or metaphysics, the metaphysics, New Age metaphysics that work with geometry and dimensions, multidimensionality. They are into that as well, the 0-point energy. But the 0-point energy, in fact, is sunyata, is in fact zero, known as emptiness. In English, translates to emptiness. Sunyata is Buddhism. And if you want to know what Buddhism is, if you ask me what is Buddhism, Buddhism is sunyata. Buddhism is emptiness. Buddhism is zero. It's the knowledge of sunyata. That's what Buddhism is. So that's what Buddhism is doing. That's the end goal of Buddhism, is to understand, to see and perceive sunyata. And sunyata means zero. Sunyata, it translates to emptiness in English. So if you go look up what is emptiness in Buddhism, you can go look that up. So the scientists or the fallen angels, they want to study the 0-point. They want to quantify it. That's probably why they call it quantum. They want to quantify it. They want to have a number for it. You cannot understand sunyata just purely mathematically. So if you really go through some of this, it says a lot without saying anything. It says a lot. So if you read all of this, at the end, you will just find it's inconclusive. They cannot fully understand it. It's inconclusive. It's non-applicable. You cannot apply it. You cannot use it. So all of this for that, all of this for inconclusive, all of this for no answer, all of this study for no answer at the end. So what are you going to do? You're going to go through all of this, study all this in university, pay thousands of dollars and study all this for inconclusive answers. They can study this and they can spend their time doing all this because they have been alive for over 6,000 years. These guys, they don't die. So they can play around with this all their lives, but they will never get an answer because it's the incorrect approach. And sunyata is not approached like this. It's a very one-dimensional, narrow view. It is not a pragya view. It is not a multi-angle, multi-layered view, but it is just a mathematical view. So there's no use for 0-point mathematics, for example. There's no use for that. Unless you realize sunyata spiritually and understand spiritually, you are able to be freed from this world. If you're able to be freed from this samsaric great confusion as this. So all of this won't allow you quarks and force fields and bosons and photons. It's not there for your liberation, but it's there for your greater confusion, because you're not going to figure it out. You're not going to really understand. Even if you know the mathematical equation of quarks, you don't really know what it's doing. You don't know how to create it. Only the creator knows how to create it. So you don't really know where it comes from. Even if you know how to solve it and use it, partially use it, you don't really know how to make it. So it's just knowledge and information that you don't need, that you burden yourself from. And in Buddhism, they say when you pick up a burden that is not yours, it's considered foolish. So if you're picking up a burden like this, if you're picking up a 0-point energy quantum mechanics burden and you're putting that burden on yourself, and at the end you have no solution, there is no conclusion, there is no understanding, but greater confusion, that is picking up a burden that is not yours. So that's like in Buddhism, it says, if you pick up a burden that was not given to you, if you pick up a weight that no one told you to pick up, that's stupid. And it's worse if you do not drop it once you know it. Once you know you're not meant to be carrying that weight, you have to drop it. And if you don't drop it, you incur pride, and with that pride you will keep carrying on that weight, believing that it is real and it is true, and then that's your ignorance. You can understand the 0 point energy, the new age, and the scientists that are into this kind of stuff, the physicists that are into this kind of stuff. They have to understand that they can only understand 0 point through spirituality. And 0 point is basically sunyata. That's what they're exploring. It's sunyata, it's zero, is emptiness. So you can study Buddhism and really understand the real meaning of sunyata, the true meaning of sunyata, and not be led astray, misguided, confused by this type of quantum mechanics and multidimensionality. So in the new age, they'll teach you multidimensionality, and we might perceive it like a little bit as human beings, but we don't know what it means. So we are just like parroting what they are teaching us. We are like, multidimensionality was like, yeah, multidimension. And they're like, the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension. And we are like, yeah, the sixth dimension. The fifth dimension is coming. The fourth dimension is coming. So that's what they're teaching the new age people. That's what they're teaching the metaphysics, new age spirituality. So we don't know the existence of the fifth dimension, but we are just saying it because someone said it. But we don't know if it exists or not. And that's ignorance, because we cannot prove it. In Buddhism, you have to prove everything. And the science has borrowed that as well, like proving everything. Evidence-based is the banner of science, is what science claims. The phrase evidence-based, it's like synonymous with science, but science can't give evidence of 0 point, for example. But Buddhism will give you evidence of 0 point, because once you achieve your 0 point in Buddhism, once you achieve your sunyata in Buddhism, you will actually exit this world. You will exit samsara. You will rapture and go to heaven. That should prove that you have realized sunyata and realized 0 point. So if you know the mathematical equation of 0 point, you'll still be stuck on this earth if you have not realized it through spirituality. As soon as you realize sunyata spiritually, you will actually rapture, you will ascend, and you will exit this reality. So in Hebrewism, you rapture and go to heaven. In Buddhism, you exit samsara. So it's the same concept. So either way, we are going out of this earth. So how do you go out of this earth? By spiritually realizing sunyata, and not by doing a mathematical calculation of 0 point energy, because it doesn't even exist, or it cannot be solved. These things are only realized spiritually, like atoms, Tantra Sutra, 0 point energy or sunyata. These are only realized spiritually. And so you cannot claim this to be education or science or mathematics only, because they're all realized spiritually and understood spiritually, attained spiritually. And that's the correct way to do it. But if you do it this way, it's always incomplete, and you will feel like you're educated and smart because you own like 20 physics books on 0 point, but you're still ignorant and you're still dumb, because at the end you're going to go to hell. So you need to wake up from the great deception of all this, and you need to do the real spirituality and learn the real spiritual path, achieve your sunyata, and go to heaven, not go to hell through this kind of 0 point field, Einstein quantum harmonic oscillator. So don't be oscillated in dark and light. Don't be stuck on photons and bosons. You actually have to exit this reality. And if you're stuck on this, E equals mc square, if you're stuck on that stuff, that's basically just illusion. That's like education delusion. Like when you have spiritual delusion, you have like education delusion, you have knowledge delusion. So this is all knowledge delusion. This is all knowledge ignorance. So you have to actually release yourself from this ignorance, release yourself from this delusion, and then you can exit out of this world. And that's a physical evidence that you have realized 0 point. You have realized sunyata. You have actually solved this 0 point that they claim, you have actually done it and solved it. Through your ascension into heaven, through you exiting samsara, through you exiting this world, through you rapturing and going to heaven, you have proved 0 point energy, or you have proved sunyata, you have proved zero, you have proved emptiness.